Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. It's the last Smackdown in the Thunderdome, so will WWE phone it in before the fans return, or go out with a bang? Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the 9th July edition of Smackdown, as well as the wildest wrestling news and rumors you need to know, including details on Bayley's injury, Jim Cornette and Chris Jericho roast man who tried to jump into a wrestling ring, and Riddle talks resolving heat with Seth Rollins. As always, Wrestlelamia won't recap the show, but provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. Goodbye and good riddance! The Thunderdome era is over, and Wrestlelamia wants to say goodbye and good riddance. Although the Thunderdome served its purpose well, providing a glitzy alternative to the dull, drab performance center, the return of live fans couldn't happen soon enough. WWE deserves considerable credit for the Thunderdome concept and, in fact, won an industry award for its use of virtual fans last year, but it's still no comparison to seeing live fans present. If WWE is wise, and fans know that's always a big if, it will use the fans' return to jumpstart the promotion and take advantage of the public's hunger for live events. Bayley blames the fans. Leave it to wrestling's role model to suffer a serious injury, yet find a way to get heat with the fans. Bayley's injury couldn't have come at a worse time, but that didn't stop the Blue Brand's #1 female, who are we kidding, Bayley's arguably the best female performer in WWE right now, from laying into the fans and blaming them for her injury. Bayley's video promo was straight out of the heel playbook, and while she can't wrestle, the WWE should continue using her talk show to help build programs and keep heat on her until she returns. Another momentous matchup. Does the WWE do rematches to death? No question, but sometimes the wrestlers involved manage to find a way to shine despite the fact that they've wrestled several weeks in a row, often in straight-up singles matches as opposed to mixing things up with stipulation bouts. Tonight's Money in the Bank qualifier between Baron Corbin and King Nakamura was another solid showdown, with both men showing why they're two consistently entertaining performers, even if they're not consistently booked. While the Corbin vs. Nakamura feud is already getting stale, it's through no fault of the wrestlers, and Wrestlelamia is even willing to admit that Rick Boogs is benefiting from his alliance with the new king. NXT call-ups. Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox's Smackdown debut was a good power-up for the women's division and one long overdue. Bayley's injury exposed just how thin the Smackdown women's roster is, and Raw isn't much better, and the tag team's call-up, as well as the hype video for the debut of Toni Storm, will hopefully provide some fresh matchups. All three women have the talent to excel on SmackDown, but like any performer, it's up to the WWE to book them properly. Right now, they seem to be getting the Vince McMahon, "Oh boy, look at these new toys" treatment, but there's no telling how long before he gets bored of his shiny new wrestlers and discards them. For now, though, we'll enjoy the new team's appearances. The bad. Is Cesaro's push over? Tonight's loss to Seth Rollins in the Money in the Bank qualifier isn't the end of the world for the Swiss Superman, but it's another loss to Rollins and a sign Cesaro's push may be winding down. It's unfortunate not only for the talented and dedicated wrestler, but more so for the WWE Universe, who really seemed to be getting behind his quest for main event success. With Rollins seemingly being set up for a feud with Edge, the WWE may have already called it quits not only with the enjoyable Rollins vs. Cesaro feud, but with Cesaro's push. No Sammy or Cesaro in the ladder match? While we're on the subject of Cesaro, the WWE is missing a big opportunity by excluding the Swiss Cyborg from the men's ladder match. He's not the only person who's been kept out of the workhorse bout, so is Sami Zayn. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view is about more than who earns the highly coveted briefcase that allows you to cash in for a title shot at any time. It's a showcase for some of the WWE's best workers and a chance to push them. This year's Money in the Bank has a talented array of performers, but does the WWE really expect John Morrison to benefit from the match? The same might be said for Ricochet, who will undoubtedly put on an exciting performance, but barring a complete turnaround on his push, will go straight back to the mid-card. Cesaro would have been a much better choice, unless WWE is indeed stopping his push, and a surprise win by Zayn could add suspense to the World Championship scene as fans wonder when the crafty heel might cash in his briefcase. The woeful women's division. Carmella versus Bianca Belair for the Smackdown Women's Championship. If Bayley's injury suggested how little talent there is on the Smackdown women's roster, booking Mella into the main event confirmed it. Wrestlelamia viewers will no doubt remember past videos where we posed the question who Belair would defend her title against once she finished her program with Bayley, suggesting that the most likely option would be Carmella. Sadly, this prediction came true. Carmella is an average worker at best and a mediocre one at worst. She has no business being in the main event, something made obvious when she challenged Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's belt. Liv Morgan may be better, but she still has a long way to go in terms of her in-ring skills. Wrestlelamia isn't alone in pointing out that the WWE's recent cuts to the women's roster did it no favors, and the WWE needs to call up more performers than just Tegan Nox, Shotzi Blackheart, and Toni Storm. The WWE should either call up more talent like Dakota Kai, Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, Mercedes Martinez, and Xia Li, who are all ready, or consolidate the women's roster. NXT fans will miss the talented female stars, and sadly there's no guarantee whether they'll be utilized properly on the main roster, but like it or not, the Black and Gold brand's purpose is to train stars for the main roster, not leave them there for years to entertain NXT fans. Will it happen? Probably not, and fans will have to start a poll on how many more times Carmella gets title shots. No repercussions for Jimmy Uso? Jimmy Uso's appearance on SmackDown despite his arrest this week for driving under the influence is a bad sign for how WWE may be treating Uso's situation. Bayley's injury showed just how wrestling plans can go awry when the unpredictable injury bug strikes, but what about when a wrestler gets into trouble through their own stupidity? Unlike Bayley, the Jimmy Uso situation is entirely due to his poor judgment in allegedly drinking to excess and getting behind the wheel of a car. While Jimmy Uso is involved in a main event program, the WWE's apparent decision to keep him on the road sets a bad example for talent, one that suggests you can get into trouble as long as you're involved in a significant storyline. Although it's possible that WWE could write Jimmy off TV in the next several weeks, but if it doesn't, it's another example of how top stars get preferential treatment. The Downright Ugly. Nothing ugly about tonight's show. SmackDown bounced back from last week's flat show to put on a strong exit from the Thunderdome. The WWE could have phoned it in and waited for the return of fans before furthering any storylines, but it didn't. News: Bayley out for 9 months. As you've no doubt heard by now, Bayley suffered an injury during training and is expected to be out of action for 9 months. The WWE confirmed the story at WWE.com, and Fightful Select provided some details on what happened, reporting Bayley was training with someone when she heard something pop. According to Ringside News, Bayley is believed to have suffered an ACL injury. Bayley's injury caused the WWE to scurry to find a substitute for Bayley against Bianca Belair, and it may have hastened some call-ups from NXT. Ringside News noted, "As of Friday afternoon, we heard that her injury may have actually caused plans to change for incoming talent." It's unknown if Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox's call-ups were rushed due to Bayley's injury, or Toni Storm's hype video was planned to air on SmackDown before Bayley was sidelined. Ringside News' Felix Upton is reporting, "Two talents on the SmackDown roster were openly frustrated that the company's lack of depth left them scrambling to find an appropriate replacement." The WWE only has itself to blame for the lack of talent on SmackDown, as it made a number of cuts recently, and it has spent no time creating new stars other than Bianca Belair. The WWE's continued focus on one or two female performers at the expense of the rest of the division is a terrible policy whose consequences are now apparent. Jim Cornette rips fan who jumped into the ring. Bad news for the loser who tried to jump into the ring on the 7th July episode of Dynamite, as both Jim Cornette and Chris Jericho roasted him on Twitter after he apparently bragged about his epic fail. Cornette tweeted, "Got news for you, dipshit. The ring is sacred ground for us, and even if you and a lot of others think you can kick the shit out of the Young Bucks, I would have turned you into a tennis racket popsicle, and you're lucky someone there didn't gut you like a fish. And you're blocked." Cornette comes from an era when heels routinely had to defend themselves against fans who tried to assault them on their way to the ring, at ringside, and on the way back to the dressing room. While fans being smartened up has all but eliminated this phenomenon, there is still that occasional attention seeker who tries to jump into the ring. Chris Jericho, who took a swing at the goof who tried jumping into the ring, also tweeted about the incident. "Do you really think Jim Cornette would condone this, you loser? Jimmy would have shoved a tennis racket up your ass and smashed your car windows." The apparently low IQ individual who tried rolling into the ring should be grateful, as wrestlers used to escort troublemakers to the back and dish out some wrestler justice before turning them over to the police. Riddle apologizes to Rollins. Last but not least, it looks like Matt Riddle is making it clear that he regrets the heat he once had with Seth Rollins. Riddle spoke with TalkSport's Alex McCarthy recently about how Riddle's wife's alleged body shaming towards Becky Lynch and other female superstars led to heat on Riddle's wife and himself, so much that Rollins publicly said he had no interest in ever working with Riddle. "I know my significant other said something about Becky that they didn't like, and I also did not like or agree with. Seth didn't like me after that, and I don't think Becky liked me or my wife either, which is understandable. It is what it is." Wrestling's ultimate bro was finally able to talk to Rollins one-on-one. In fact, Riddle said a camera crew tried to capture the moment, but he told them to leave. Riddle said he was finally able to talk to Rollins after the 2020 Survivor Series. "We talked. I told him, and this is exactly what I said. I said, hey man, what was said I don't agree with. I thought it was bullcrap. It's not cool. I just want you to know I apologize. I apologize on her behalf as well. On top of that, I think you're a great performer, and if you would ever have it in your heart to work with me, I would love that." According to Riddle, he also congratulated Seth and Becky on the pending arrival of their first child. Rollins was surprised by Riddle's remarks. "And he literally looked at me and he goes, holy shit, I didn't expect that. Everything I hear from people and what I expected, that was really cool. Thank you." Riddle pointed out that he doesn't claim to be friends with Seth Rollins, but he's glad that they were able to iron out any differences. Well guys, there you have it, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly from the 9th July Smackdown, along with the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know in wrestling. Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.